So I'm just a stupid dog. I don't know if this is the 16th or the 17th. I think it's the 16th take of the dog wars. Anyways, the man, I heard him. The man, if you recall it from the first few takes of the dog wars, we never left the corridor. The corridor is just off of the big parlor room and the billiards room. It's like everything. The manor house is so ginormous. You could have a concert on the porch of the manor house, and the whole crowd could be out there numbering in the thousands on the front lawn. But in this, because it was built way back, I don't know when it was built, like in the 1800s, I don't know, the 19th century, the 26th century, I don't even know what century it was built in. It was built in like, I think around 1910 or something like that. Anyways, it was a wheat penny. They had wheat pennies back then, wheat penny. They didn't even have Abraham Lincoln then. They had, I don't know what they had in the front of the penny. It was a wheat. They had wheat on the penny. And I think it said 1 cent. I don't know who it was. I don't know how maybe they did have Abraham Lincoln on the front. I don't think so. They didn't have a buffalo. They didn't have an American Indian. That was on the nickel. I don't even know what it was going on with the wheat penny, but the wheat penny was a thing that they had around 1910. I don't know. Maybe it was Abraham Lincoln on one side and the wheat on the other. Wheat already. Wheat. You have the wheat over here. That's how you feed the millions and the billions. The wheat. You got to have the wheat. Anyways, wheat over here. The wheat. I love wheat. Wheat. I'm glyphosate intolerant, so I don't know I can eat that much wheat, but whatever. I'm a stupid dog. Don't worry about it. Anyways, the man was sitting there in the big corridor where, the corridor was a big giant hallway. I mean, you could drive a truck through the corridor, but on the one side was the big parlor room, the billiard room, the big beautiful staircase, everything where the rich people lived, and a bunch of bathrooms and everything. On the other side was the kitchens, and they had some other things. They had the butcher room, they had the kitchens, they had the storage rooms, they had the bakery, they had the giant ovens on the left-hand side. But anyways, the big corridor was where the merchants back in the old days, and maybe it was before 1910, I don't know when they really built the whole manor house. Anyways, they would bring in like gooses and crates and cabbages and ginormous carrots from Alaska. They would bring in frongs. You know what a frong is? Look it up. It's a big giant shrimp. Anyways, the man, it kind of became, because he couldn't afford any of the servants and everything. It was like a ghost, a ghost thing. It was like an empty giant thing. The corridor was never used, but at the corridor there was this, at the very end of the corridor, just before all the merchants would go to their right, the man's left, to deliver all their wares and all their cabbages and all their, they would bring in meat pies. They would bring in, they would bring in, like I said, they had king crab legs, giant king crab legs as big as your arm, literally as big as your arm. They would bring in whole deer that they would friggin', string up in the whole butcher room thing, and there was tiled room. They would hose all the blood to the drain. They would bring in live lambs. Live lambs would get walked in there. The geese would come in crates live. They're like crap. Like, oh my God, it was foie gras geese. Foie gras. They would stick a funnel in their mouth and cram shit into their mouth until their livers almost wanted to burst. Then they would throw the whole goose away, but they would keep the liver to make the foie gras. Foie gras, I think, was raw goose liver that the goose had been, made to become obese. I don't know. It's a disgusting thing. Anyways, the man, he was sitting there at this Dutch Renaissance table. It was a little tiny table, but it was like 600 years old. It was handcrafted by the Dutch. This table was worth like $300,000 or $400,000. On the table sat an old Andy Griffith phone. One of them phones had a round base, a stem, and up at the stem, at the top of the stem, there would be like a cone that you would speak into the cone. Just below the cone, there would be this little holder where you would, another cone that would be attached by a wire to the stem that you would hold up to your ear. It was like the Andy Griffith phone. Anyways, this whole dog wars began with the man just sitting there at the table, just directing the dog wars. Anyways, we're back to that point where he's directing the dog wars because he's thinking about retirement. Anyways, he's like, I think I got to get out because the dog wars. He killed a woman, and I think he might even killed another woman. I don't know. Big poor Dolores, maybe he gave her a lobotomy. I'm not sure. He killed over texting Sally. He swore he would never kill a woman. He was having nightmares. It was so horrible. He'd be having these sex dreams, okay? And this hot, beautiful girl from his youth, when he was a teenager, would be like just trying to seduce him. They'd be rolling around on this Scottish plaid picnic table blanket, and there'd be a big basket filled with fried chicken and watermelon and shit, and they'd be ready to have a picnic. There was no ants, there was no gnats, there was no bugs. It was 71 degrees and bright and sunny, pure blue skies. And this girl in his dream would be like trying to wrestle him around, hugging him, getting him ready to, you know what I'm saying, get into some intimacy, and they would roll around a little bit. And just as the intimacy would start, he'd look up, and the face of the girl that he's about to get intimate with, that was trying to seduce him, it would be over texting Sally's face. He's like, holy shit, you know? I mean, God bless. It would be over texting Sally. Over texting Sally's dad. How am I going to have sex with over texting Sally? It's such a horrible thing. This Dog Wars is all about the man contemplating retirement from the Dog Wars. And what is he going to retire to? He's going to go back to being an idiot savant, don't make no money at the, the trade of being an idiot savant veterinarian. He could operate on a moth. He would drive up on the top of the mountains and try to save the lunar moths. He would shine a flashlight into the woods. Raccoons and possums and all these animals would be like, what the fuck's going on? A bear would look at him, a coyote. Every once in a while, a lunar moth. It's like the lunar moths come out in June. Why is shining a light, from maybe May through September? The lunar moths are only there in June. He would get a lunar moth that would fly into a tree, smack itself in the head. He would operate with little tiny instruments on the lunar moth's head and try to get the lunar moth to fly off. The lunar moth would fly off, and he turned, he laid an egg, and then he died anyways. Like, you saved 2 days for the lunar moth. I mean, what the hell, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, it doesn't matter. The man was contemplating retirement because he's like, I got to get out of these dog wars. The man was never into the dog wars. As harsh and as utterly violent and as cruel as the man could be, he didn't look at it as cruelty. If he snuffed out a life, he wanted to snuff it out as fast and as what I'm saying, as viciously as he could possibly do it, to put the thing out of its misery, no matter what it was. It could be a rabid dog, or it could be over texting Sally. This is the first woman he ever killed. It's a horrifying thing. He killed a whole bunch of guys. He would, guys, he was like, I'll kill them. It's like nothing. These guys would kill me. I'm going to kill them before they kill me. He would sew their mouths shut. He would torture them with vanilla milkshakes from Burger King. He would sew their lips shut with cat gut, and then he would taunt them with a vanilla milkshake. He would try to stick the straw through the little gap there in the mouth that he had sewn shut. And when they couldn't get anything, he was like, suck it, and then he would smash the vanilla milkshake over their head, and then he'd laugh at them, he'd pistol whip them, he'd put, it was vile. But he was like, this is what it is. It's not that bad of me. I'm not really that evil. I just have to do this because that's my job at this particular moment. Because at that point, it's kill or be killed. But the man was like, once I killed over texting Sally, it was a mercy killing. I had to kill her because Big Poor Dolores was torturing her. And I'm like, God bless, she was taking these, like when you have to jump a battery from one car to another and you have these jumper cables. Big Poor Dolores was trying to put the big giant clamps right on her nipples. She was trying to put it down on her clitoris. I was like, put it on her earlobe. That's good enough. Put it on her earlobe. We don't have to, put it on her earlobe. Her earlobe is like enough torture right there. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The man was contemplating retirement. In this episode of our Lord, the year of our Lord, June 22nd, June 23rd, I don't even know what it is. The man was contemplating retirement. And I'm a young, stupid dog. I was like, God bless, could this guy retire so I could, live peacefully through the last few remaining months of my life? I'm like 17 years old. Dogs don't live past 18, 19. You know what I'm saying? 17-year-old dog is an old freaking dog. I'm a mid-sized dog. I'm at the very tail end of my lifespan over here. I don't want to spend it cowering under the big, beautiful sofa. I forget what they call it. There was a more rich name for the sofa in the big parlor room. I'm cowering under that thing the whole time. I'm wondering what's going to happen next. You know what I'm going to say? The man, he's out in the big corridor at the Dutch Renaissance round table with the Andy Griffith throne, trying to tell people he's getting ready. He's getting ready for retirement. Anyways, I'm here, stupid dog. This take of the Dog Wars was all about the man. He's contemplating retirement, but unfortunately, we have a very long way to go on these Dog Wars. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of, it's a roller coaster. It's a lot of zings and zags and zings, yings and yangs. You don't know what's going to happen, so stay tuned in. But don't worry about it. You will be entertained. This is the Dog Wars. I'm your stupid dog. Don't worry about it.